Hello, I'm Brian. This is just a personal project that I wanted to do, so if you don't like it, then take it or leave it. Um, yeah, so I am going to be going back through Kids WB, specifically their Saturday morning cartoon lineup. And I think that's kind of important because this, for better or for worse, was a large part of my childhood nostalgia, and I kind of want to chronicle it just for like prosperity or whatever you call it, and also because like I feel like shitty early 2000s reboot culture isn't talked about enough, and I want people to remember that like even though this is a awful and regrettable part of our shared cultural history, it's an important one that needs to be remembered. Or maybe it should be forgotten, but I'm not going to do that because fuck you. So I'm just gonna go back through all of these in reverse order because I don't honestly remember when I started watching these cartoons. So like the later in the video we get, the easier it will be to just say that, oh yeah, I didn't watch this show, so it doesn't matter if I don't remember it, even if it was something that I watched and I just don't remember it because it was bad or not very memorable. But yeah, so yeah, let's go ahead and get on that. Starting 2007, 2008 lineup. And this was also like, I think it's important to note that this was like where Kids WB was like dying, because you could tell that there was just this desperation in the media that they were putting out, that they didn't know what was cool and they didn't know what kids wanted, and also they weren't doing well enough to take risks, and that just kind of culminated in the entire channel just not being very good. And you can really tell, especially after it changed from the Kids WB to the CW for Kids, which even though it was just like a cosmetic rebranding, that kind of for me marked the dying point of that entire channel, because it just stopped being good. I just stopped liking it. It wasn't good. It was bad. And I'm kind of glad that they did rebrand themselves, because that's what kind of clued me into it, of it just being like, this is not what I remember. This is not the nostalgia from my childhood, even though like it's directly afterwards and you can tell that it just wasn't good. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get to it, so I'm gonna stop rambling. Okay, so 2007, 2008. Let's get to this. So, Will and Dewitt, 7 a.m. I remember this show. It was bad. It was something about a kid and his frog, which I would not have recognized if I hadn't just looked it up on Google Images. I don't know. It was kind of this like not quite Dora the Explorer, and not quite like it was just a ripoff of every other like kids TV show that I had already become like pretty desensitized to, since I was like, gosh, I was like 13 at that point, so I was kind of over that. 7:30, Magi-Nation. Somebody pitched this name and somebody else said yes. Look at these characters. Look at this clearly not quite Pokemon. This show wasn't good. This show is, if I might make such a bold statement, not a good show. Moving on. 8 a.m. Skunk-fu. This show was very simplistic. This show was bad. Or it wasn't bad. It was just this style of TV show that I just grown out of at that point. That's really all there is to say. 8:30. Tom and Jerry Tales. That's the thing. I kind of recognized that this is sort of part of their giving up, that they were just playing reruns of things that used to be good and hoping that would work. And guess what? It didn't. 9:30. The Spectacular Spider-Man. This was actually pretty good. Or I remember it fondly. And I do like what they changed about it and how they turned it into like a bit more of a high school thing. I like the art style. I like the fact that Gwen was actually a character as opposed to just kind of the non-character that she is in a lot of other stuff. Although the web wing things, that was bad. I didn't like that. But other than that, it was solid. It was definitely okay. Yeah, 10:30. World of Quest. I have nothing to say about this. It was embarrassing. And it just didn't work. 11 a.m. Johnny Test. I think a lot of people do actually remember this show. And it was okay. It didn't embarrass itself. It had an art style. It knew what it was doing. Yeah, it was campy, but it was all right. It was okay. Moving on. 11:30, Eon Kid, or Iron Kid, depending on which translation you get. We got Eon Kid. This show, I don't know. I don't think I ever really gave this show a chance because it was like very narratively driven, and I was ignoring it for the first few episodes because I was like, "What the fuck is this? What's this early animation? It doesn't look good, and it's different, and I don't like it." And then, like, after it had been on for a while, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't going away," I wasn't caught up enough with the story to know what was going on, so I just kind of dropped it. I don't know. Maybe it was good. I never gave myself the chance to find out. Ah, there's the thing. Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, get a clue. This show was okay. It was passable. You can tell this art style was meant to work for Shaggy and Scooby and none of the rest of the gang, because if you did not tell me that was Fred, I would not believe you. Like, look at this Vault Tech guy, or whatever that guy was called, and Velma just looks square. Like, her head is a square. That's not what she looks like. Daphne is not a person. That is the face of an extra, and is somebody who shows up for like 2 frames and isn't even animated. Like, that's how much thought they put into the rest of this cast other than Shaggy and Scooby. And also there was this villain with like a metal hand who was some like mad scientist parody. Or I think he was a parody. Yeah, no, he must have been a parody. Oh man, look at this Vault Tech face. Look at that Fallout guy. Yeah, this show, I'm going to say it didn't embarrass itself, which is important. Moving on. Oh man. Okay, here's the good one. The Batman. The one 2004 through 2008. So, there's this thing about growing up in like early 2000s reboot culture that means that you get a lot of cultural icons in a very different context than a lot of other people remember them by. And I totally do not regret this one. This was a good show. I went back and watched this recently. It's still a good show. And like, this is my personal favorite version of the Joker, like, ever. Heath Ledger, you were cool, but you're not this. Look at this guy. He is in essence, like, he is my idea of what the Joker is, because he really is just like this madness and chaos. And a lot of the villains in this were great. And I do like the characterization of Batman in this, where he was like, he's like sort of dark, but they really don't play it up. And they kind of go more into like the cyberpunk elements of his Batmaniness. So that's pretty cool. And like the black with like the blue neon highlights is on a lot of his stuff is good. And the Batgirl in that was awesome. And Robin was very okay. And Harley Quinn was good. I can go on about this show. I liked this show. This was a good show. You should watch it. That's all I have to say. Moving on. Oh, wait, no. Oh man, Mr. Freeze's head, hat, helmet thing was awesome. Because it wasn't just a helmet, it was like actually encased in ice. This was a good show. I liked this show. Okay, now we're actually moving on. Legion of Superheroes. This is a very similar art style, but it's basically like, hey, all of these superheroes from the future are like, oh shit, we need another superhero, like a really super one. So they went back to the past and found Superman, but like as a kid, or as like a young adult, and we're like, yo, you need to be part of our super team because otherwise we're not super enough. And that was a good show. It was good. That's all I really have to say. Teen Titans, that was on it. Everyone knows about Teen Titans. Teen Titans was good. What's next? Xiaolin Showdown? Did they go off the air at that point? I think they did. Skunk-fu, more Tom and Jerry tales. Oh, no, Xiaolin Showdown. Here it is. That was, at least to me, kind of the essence of what Kids WB Saturday morning cartoons was. And this guy has a cowboy hat. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, it was a ninja show because ninjas, I think. And like the villains were actually really funny because it's like, oh man, look at this edgy OC. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was a fun show. That's really all I have to say. Oh man, here's the I just hit the gold mine. So, if I told you that there was a gritty reboot where it was cyberpunk Looney Tunes with superpowers, I bet most of you wouldn't believe me, but it happened. It happened. This show happened. There were more than one person who thought this was a good idea, and I don't understand how that happened. Like I said, they were desperate, and they were just grasping at straws, and this happened. I can't believe this happened. How did this show happen? I can't do anything, I can't say anything about this other than just to point at it and laugh because of how clearly and overtly ridiculous it is. There's just nothing to be said. This is indefensible. Individually, the episodes were watchable, but you could have done that with literally any other premise. Any other less ridiculous premise than the one that you had, and it would have been a better show. Okay, next up. Krypto the Superdog. Again, it was an okay show. That's really all I had to say about it. It was an okay show. It was, hey, what if superheroes were dogs? This show. And it was okay. Have I mentioned how okay this show was? Next. Monster Allergy. I do not recognize this. I know I watched this, at least one episode of this show at some point, and I could not tell you what happened. I could not tell you anything about this. Apparently some people liked this and enjoyed it, because there's definitely fan art. But, I don't know. No, I do barely remember this. Okay. That's all it is. Okay. Here's another shit show. Spider Riders. If you liked this show, you're wrong. And the theme song was terrible. We literally muted the TV when this show came on because it was bad. And we didn't like it. Next. And now to 2005, 2006. Okay. Oh yeah, this was when Yugioh was all over the place. Yeah, that was Yugioh. I was very neutral on this show. That's all. And I didn't play the card game. Magic the Gathering was better. Fight me. Yeah, they also had Pokemon. Again, I missed this hype train. I missed all of this. Even though I saw the shows, I just didn't get it. That just wasn't my in-group. And yeah, so Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh that was just kind of lost on me, honestly. And you know what? I'm cool with that. Next. Beautiful Joe. Again, I know I saw this. I know I must have watched this at some point. I do not remember it. Yeah. Nothing to say. That is not in my memory at all. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, that's why I hated Spider Riders. Is because On at least July 1st, 2006, they played 4 of them in a row. And it was already a thing that I didn't like. So I was like, no, why are you doing this to me? I don't want to watch this. But I couldn't yell at them on Twitter back then because it was 2006. And next, Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island. This show was dumb. The characters were dumb. This was trying way too hard to be SpongeBob. That's all I had to say on the matter. Next. Yeah, most of this whole season is just the same shows, which makes sense. And I think this was like the era that I watched most of it, because they had Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island, which I do remember watching like more of than I am entirely proud of. And the Batman was still on, and Xiaolin Showdown was still on. And Johnny Test. Yeah, this was like the getting stale period of my memory of this network. Cuz Loonatics and Johnny Test and Coconut Fred, they were all just kind of like the good enough to get up early shows. But that was only because I didn't have cable and didn't have anything else to watch. And it only happened once a week, and apparently that was an event because my life was boring. Yeah, that's all the same shit through that season. 2004, 2005. Let's see. Mega Man, NT Warrior. I played the Game Boy Advance version of this Mega Man, but I do not remember the show. That's all I have to say about it. The game was okay, but it wasn't Mega Man. Like, I hadn't even played other Mega Man games, and I knew it wasn't Mega Man. That's how much not Mega Man it was. It was like a turn-based thing, I think. And it was like The Matrix. That game was weird. And I assume the show was equally weird. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. That's one that I do remember. That was in very much the neutral camp of my memory of this network. It was fun. It was worth watching. That is my rating. Yeah, Teen Titans is back in this season. Yeah, this was the good old days of this, definitely, because I had the Batman at 10:30, which I remember it being almost always. And I had Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, Xiaolin Showdown, Batman, Teen Titans, yeah. Jackie Chan Adventures. Again, this show was on. I do not remember it. I do not remember this show. That's all there is. Okay. Here's one. Muchalacha. I think that's what it is. This was a show. This happened. I don't remember anything about this show other than the fact that it existed. I could not tell you what happened in a single episode of that. Oh, yeah. They had a little bit of What's New Scooby-Doo going on at that time. So that's cool. I enjoyed that Scooby-Doo. That was a good version of Scooby-Doo. Pokemon Special. Man, they really liked Pokemon in this. Yeah, honestly, it was Xiaolin Showdown and the Batman that were like the through line of my whole experience with this. And when they fell off of that network, I was just like done. Anything else for this season? Not really. No, wait, hold on. Da Boom Crew. What is this? I think I remember this existing, but I did not watch it seriously. Next. Yeah, more of the same. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Teen Titans, Xiaolin Showdown. All the good staples. Here's something. Static Shock. What is that? Oh yeah. That's this weird superhero. For some reason I remember him more. I think he was a cameo in a different show. And I assume he's a comic book character, but I do not recognize him. Again, that's one of those shows that I think I remember it existed and almost nothing else. Oh! Hey, here's one. Here's a good one. Codename Kids Next Door. That was a good show. I enjoyed that show, as I assume a lot of people did. It was good. That was a good show. I don't think there's anything else I can say about it, other than it was a good show. Yeah, I do remember, like, really enjoying Kids Next Door actually being on that network, because I'd seen it in other places, but I, like, didn't get it on Saturday morning cartoons, and I was kind of mad about that. Moving on. Oh, here's a 2-hour special of Solar. Moving on. X-Men Evolution. That was a show. I don't think I watched it, but it was a show. What's next? Ozzy and Drix. What is this? Yeah, you see, this is getting into the stuff that I'm significantly less familiar with. I may or may not remember this show. I'm leaning towards not. Cool. Yeah, 2002, 2003. This is probably before I started watching it. Like, actually. Yeah, because this is some stuff that I don't recognize. More X-Men, which I know I didn't watch. More Jackie Chan's Adventures, which I think I got the tailing end of that. More Ozzy and Drix. Yeah. Yeah, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh was like a big part of this, even though I didn't really care about it. Yeah, cool. So I think that's when I started watching Saturday morning cartoons, like, actually was the 2002-2003 season, which makes sense. I was like 7 at that time. So, like, it's also one of those things I may have been watching before that, but also, like, I don't remember a lot of the stuff from before I was 7 because I was younger than 7. And, like, people younger than 7, I'm gonna be honest, they just aren't actually people. Like, they're like proto-people. Yeah, and there's my hot take on what children are. They're not people. Use that information however you want to. Yeah, so, final thoughts. Xiaolin Showdown and the Batman. And just the ever-present nature of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! That was that was the core of my nostalgia. Because the Batman TV show, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's really good. And Xiaolin Showdown, I don't remember, but I think it was good. So watch that if you want to. But I can't formally recommend it because I don't remember much about it. I think it got like really dramatic at one point. So that's a thing. And yeah, I don't know. This was a quick or not so quick romp through my nostalgia through this specific Saturday morning cartoons, which was like basically all of the media I consumed through a significant portion of my early childhood because we didn't have cable at that point, and also I was homeschooled, so I didn't have very many friends. So yeah, go watch the Batman. It was a good show. And yeah, ending.